Welcome to Planet Marzipan podcast,
your fish and Marillion podcast,
where we talk about all things in the planet of Marillion and fish. I'm Meza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Hello and welcome to Planet Marzipan. I'm Meza, I'm here with my good friend.
Craig, as ever, and we are recording on our first birthday.
We are. But we're here with a guest. We have one of our Planet Marzipan Meets episode, and we're here with Dave Barras. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, guys.
And Dave,
at long last.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been trying to do this for a while, haven't we?
We have. Thank you for coming on, Dave. We do appreciate you talking to us today. You're here mainly because of your link with fish and the work you've done with fish. How did you first get involved working with fish?
Well, I can kind of go, I suppose I have to go way back. It's so to when I was a teenager myself, and I was massively into Marillion as a kid. So I was born in 1969. I don't know what age you guys are, so that put me in the right kind of age range. Well, actually, it probably didn't. I weirdly, I went to school and I kind of fell in with a bunch of guys who were into prog, which was not cool at the time, as you will be aware. And they were into like Yes and Floyd and King Crimson and Rush and all that kind of stuff, and Genesis and all the main kind of proggy bands. And at that point, I'd been quite into punk when I was much younger, and a wee bit into kind of bits and bobs of rock, but I wasn't that much into prog, and they kind of introduced me to prog, and then lo and behold, along comes this band fronted by a Scotsman, and being Scots ourselves, because prog's quite it's a relatively kind of English game, or it was at that time. You know, your Yeses and Genesis were all kind of posh English blokes.
Yeah.
So to have this prog band fronted by this, 6-foot+ Scotsman writing these incredible lyrics was just a bit mind-blowing. So it was probably around about Fugazi that I got into the band. And I was very much into them from that point onwards, and obviously right up until the breakup. And then when the breakup happened, I followed both I only really followed Marillion for one album, I have to say. So I went with Fish until about Suits. And then I probably kind of slightly lost track of them at that point. I kind of got into grunge. Now, my head was turned by grunge at that point, and loads of other stuff was happening in my life, so I kind of lost track with what Fish was up to. I'd see things every now and again. I remember buying something, and there was an insert with Rain Gods with Zippos in it, and I was like, oh, Fish is still going, that's interesting. Yeah. But I hadn't really listened to anything for a while, and it was only when we came to try and get a cast for Electric Man, we were kind of scouting about for somebody. We knew, because it was such a low-budget film, we knew we weren't going to get any amazing, incredible actors in the main roles. It was all going to be kind of newcomers, and they were all, young actors. So, but we thought we could probably do a bit of stunt casting with the American character or the Scottish thug. And we were like, who can we get to play him? And various names were bandied about, and then somebody mentioned Fish, and it just so happened a friend of mine's who's an animator, he had a little studio on the same farmstead where Fish was, and he said, oh, I can get you his address. So we literally wrote Fish a letter and said, we're making this movie, can we send you the script? And I think he phoned, I can't remember whether we sent him the script first, but we sent him the script, or he phoned and we sent him the script, and he got back to us a couple of days later and went, I've read it, I like it, come and see me. Right. And my colleague, my friend Scott, who's one of the prog folk who have aforementioned group that I fell in with, I phoned him up and I says, I'm going to see Fish. And he went, no, you're not. We're going to see Fish, because he was desperate to meet him as well. So we drove out to the Funny Farm and had an initial meeting, and we got along brilliantly, and he was in, and that was it. He was cast, and I think he was the first person or the second person cast in Electric Man, and then he kind of helped us pull together some of the funding for it as well. We had a bunch of kind of investors that were bankers and stuff like that, and he came along to a meeting, and while we were doing a pitch to them, he kind of stood up at the. It was almost like that scene in Dead Poets Society where the guy stands up in the middle of the church and goes, "It's a phone call from God." Fish just stood up and went, "I run my own record company. These guys know what they're talking about. We can do this." And that was probably one of the things that made the investors go, "All right, we'll take a punt on this mad,
Brilliant.
crazy film."
So when Electric Man came out in 2012, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's a terrifyingly long time ago now already.
so we're talking about around about 2010 with that.
2010 is when we first made contact, I think.
Yeah. I mean, he's fantastic in the. It's a great film. It's a really kitschy film, and we saw it in Leamington.
Leamington, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, when he played it at the festival at the really
Convention, the weekend. It was
convention's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
yeah.
When he
Mind
played
you,
at
it's
the convention.
perfect time to do a plug for the new 3D version on when it's out finally on Blu-ray.
yeah. So if you do want to get Electric Man, it's out on a. There's a one of our investors is a mad 3D fanatic, and he has converted it into 3D. But there is also a 2D. It's the only place you can get it in 2D on Blu-ray as well. So if you buy the 3D version, if you've got a 3D telly, you can watch it. But also, it's got the old red and blue glasses, and there's a couple of free pairs, so you can actually watch it in that old kind of style blue 3D if you want. But there is a very nice version of the film in 2D, good old fashioned 2D. So if you really want to own it like that, you can, and it's on aipop.com.
Brilliant.
I'm sure we can get you a link and we can
Yeah,
put
if you can
it
send
on
us a
there.
link, we'll put it in the notes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
cool.
And so that was that your first release as a director?
It was my first feature. So I've been a film educator and a filmmaker ever since kind of for the last 30-ish years. So I started out in a company that did like radio stuff, and we produced radio programs, mostly working with kids and disadvantaged kids. And then as video technology got better and better, when the first iMac came out with the editing program on it, iMovie, we started doing video stuff. And I've always been into films, and I actually would have, I never thought when I was at school that I could be a filmmaker or anything like that. I kind of aimed lower and said to my careers advisor I wanted to be a journalist, but even that was poo-pooed as being, nah, you've got no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, no chance, mate. What, you're good at maths, why don't you be an accountant? So, and I don't know why I listened to that careers. I went to university and did accountancy and business studies, but very quickly realized that accountancy was not for me and dropped out of that. No offense to any accountants out there. It was not for me.
And so that after Electric Man, then you started doing promos for Fish, then didn't you? You did the Preparing the Feast documentary.
Yeah, so because obviously we did the film and we had a brilliant time doing it and we got on with them. So I think it was seemed very obvious that, and it was between 13 Star and Feast when we first met him. So Feast was kind of percolating in the background. So as Feast was coming together, um, Fish asked me to come in and like just film some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. So I was there when that album was being created, which was brilliant for somebody like me who kind of grew up loving Marillion and stuff like that to get that insight into how an album came together, and then having that making of film on that, which was a DVD at the time when he brought Feast out. It was before the Blu-rays. Was excellent, and just having your name on. Here's somebody that I loved when I was growing up, and now my name's on his latest album. That's yeah, it was quite a wowy thing.
I
So
bet.
yeah, I hung out and got to know Steve and all that, and I kind of got to know some of them by. I mean, we were going to a lot of the gigs from when he was cast in Electric Man, so we got to know Steve and Gavin and Robin and all those guys as well. So
Yeah. And how was the creative process? Were you sort of free to, or did you just film as much as you could and then you sort of work with Fish to hone it down into the documentary?
yeah, I mean he's a good client. He tends to give us pretty much free rein whenever we're working with him. I mean, mostly since Feast, Scott's worked with me on most of the other stuff, but so I think we picked some days to come along on these specific days when there might be something like I think Liz Antwi was in one day I was there, and they'd maybe do run throughs, they'd maybe be recording. I would just shoot. I was just let free rein just to shoot what I wanted to shoot. Um, and then we'd do the interviews to kind of fill in tell the story, I suppose, and then just use those shots to weave the story through. So I'm pretty much given free rein. I will go away and do a first cut, and then I will give it to Fish to look at, and he'll maybe come back with some suggestions. But I honestly don't think I've went more than two or three cuts with anything that we've done. Whereas some of the other stuff I do for clients, you're maybe on the 10th or 11th cut before you get sign off. So
Oh yes,
he's
that's
actually relatively, I don't know if he's relatively easy to please or he's just like he likes what we're doing and then just signs off on it. So
I'm sure the trust is there, and that helps,
yeah.
isn't it? You know, he
yeah,
trusts
yeah. I
you.
mean, yeah. We, as I say, we get on and it's he kind of knows what he wants and he knows what looks good.
Yeah,
And it's never obviously if you've listened to Fish on Friday, which I'm sure you guys have, and most other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
this
yeah,
is, it's not difficult to get a story out of Fish, so it's not difficult to get the words. The
yeah,
Yeah.
difficulty is sometimes cutting it down to to a size that you can make it, work.
Yeah,
yeah,
I could imagine like the initial versions being about like 6 hours long and something like that with ease without having to even think about it
Well,
and
I mean, one
chop
of
it
the
down.
most interesting things that I did, and it's only been on at the Edinburgh Film Festival so far, is the Polska film.
Mm,
And that
yeah.
was that was like probably 8 or 9 years ago.
mm,
And that was a monster. That was a thing that Fish was working on with the Polish director for ages and ages, and he was flying out there and looking at cuts, and it was 5 or 6 hours long. And then at one point, it got handed to me as an editor to say, "Can you make something out of this?" So eventually, I kind of found my way through that story, and it's a radio interview that Fish did in Poland, but there's loads of incredible behind the scenes stuff of that acoustic tour that he did with Frank and Foz. Um, and I'm really chuffed with that film. And I really hope at some point it will see the light of day again. And I think hopefully it will, but who knows? I mean, given what's going on in Fish's life at the minute,
Yeah.
absolutely.
there's
Yeah,
been various discussions over the years about putting it out, as part of a package of some stuff to go with that acoustic tour. But as yet, it's only ever seen the light of day. It got two screenings at Edinburgh Film Festival, and that's it.
that's a
So,
shame, isn't it? Yeah, be
There's a lot
great
of
if more people could
fans for
see
that,
that.
like.
but
Yeah.
it's there, and it's start your petitions now, people.
We'll add it to the list.
I think when I mean, he probably has decided what he's doing with catalogue, but when that sort of settles, there's a chance for more of that sort of stuff to come out. I think the success of these recent boxes has been amazing. I mean, the CD and Blu-ray boxes seem to have done very well for him. The
Yeah.
vinyl a little less so, but I think he might have been a bit ambitious with the two vinyls that he put in the boxes. But, they're really good. Um, you also did one of the well, you did the clutching documentary, didn't you, in 2018?
We did, yeah. So we did. So I think because I think might have been the fact that Fish maybe got to choose because they'd done the other docs with their own filmmakers, the Marillion lot. I think he might have had got to choose, and I'm really chuffed. I mean, I'm really chuffed that we got to do the Clutching one because it's my favorite Marillion album.
Yeah,
And we got to film it in a pub. I mean, it's like we got to film it in a pub. So we started it quite early on in the day, and of course there was a lunchtime stop for a couple of pints, and then at the end of the day, we got taken to the Hook Norton Brewery and got a kind of guided tour. So it was and all in all, it was a very nice day. That was just Fish and Scott and I, right enough, not the rest of the Murillos buggered off after the interview process. But it was great doing that, and Mick Wall did the actual interview. So that was a really good day.
yeah. That must, as a fan from back in the day, that must have been amazing to sit and see
Yeah,
that.
it was great, and it's the last time they've all been in a room together. So, and it,
Yeah,
it possibly might be the last time they'll ever be in a room together. I can imagine. I don't think. No, I'm pretty sure they've never been back together again since then because we had COVID in the meantime, and
Yeah.
they've obviously had discussions about various things, but I don't think they've all been in the same space together.
yeah. Because the other documents, script was after that, wasn't it? And that was filmed
Yeah,
separate.
that was all filmed in COVID. So we did
Yeah,
Fishy's video stuff for the script release and for the Fugazi release, but it was all done individually as far as I'm aware.
yeah. And was it which is the one with Will Smith.
That's the
Weltschmerz.
Weltschmerz.
Weltschmerz, yeah.
So the Weltschmerz doc, was that during COVID as well? Because Will's on a remote.
Yeah, Will's on a telly. Yeah, the idea was to get Will because we met Will at the Leamington thing. That's the first time I'd met Will, and we got on with him really, really well as well. So we've kept in touch with him as well. So and Will obviously loves Marillion and fish, so we said, oh, it'd be great to get somebody to do the interview, and well, let's get Will involved because Will would love it, Fish would love it. So we arranged it, and then I think it was right at the start of the first lockdown that that got cancelled. He was supposed to be coming. It was that thing. It was on the edge. It was like, don't think I can be coming up next week.
Yeah,
So that got then that turned into right. Let's do a Zoom because obviously very quickly people discovered this
Yes.
COVID,
yeah, life's changed now,
and we pivoted and we just did it on a Zoom, which is it's not as good as having Will and Fish in the room together, but it was still an interesting way to do it. And yeah, Will's an interesting guy, and obviously right now riding high with slow horses, which
absolutely,
is
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
which is
he's just won an Emmy again, hasn't he?
he has. And
Well,
if you are you guys watching it at the minute?
Craig watches it.
I'm watching, but I'm waiting for all of the episodes of this
All
season
right. Oh, you're gonna love
to view up,
episode.
and then I'll fly through all of them like I always do.
You're gonna love episode 2 of this latest one.
Okay.
Two stonking Marillion references in the same episode. I take it you noticed Derek Rothery in the first
Yeah,
scene.
the first season, yeah.
Yeah, he peppers them about. It's brilliant. Yeah, catching them. It's weirdly, Scott and myself were doing a thing last week at the Festival Theatre in Edinburgh. Ian Rankin, who writes the Rebus books,
Mm.
has got a play on, and the Festival Theatre got in touch with us and said, we need somebody to do a little promo video. Can you come up and interview Ian and some of the cast? So we got to see this play, and we're watching it, and then the deceased in the thing is called Alan White, and I'm like, Alan White? I was like, there's no way that's a coincidence. So when Ian came out afterwards, I was like, so Alan White, that's the named after Yes drummer. He was like, yeah, I get prog references into all my books.
Everywhere.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And so just coming a bit more up to date, the Leamington streaming event, was it the global?
Yes, the
Global
global
broadcast.
video event, whatever it's called, global broadcast.
That's the one.
That thing there,
There,
Vigils
yeah.
End.
eventually came out as Vigils End, but did the streaming event throw up some unique challenges for you?
Yeah, yeah, it was well, it didn't get streamed in the end, which was actually quite a good thing. It came out what 2 or 3 weeks after, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it didn't go out live because
no,
was
it
it
didn't go out live, but it went out as it went out. I think it went out. It was something like it was 3 or 4 weeks after. We'd actually just came off the back of being at COP26. We had a group of kids basically reporting from the COP26 event in Glasgow. So we were pretty much burned out, and then we had straight. I think it was the next week straight down to Leamington with a crew. Hold on, I'm just gonna put this computer back up to give me a bit of light. Um, we were straight back to Leamington with a crew to do the shoot. And I'd been to Leamington obviously at the convention before, but I mean it was quite sad how much that building had deteriorated in the intervening years. But
Yeah,
On
yeah.
the back,
It was
yeah,
a really nice venue, and then yeah,
well, they're
it
back. They
tended
smashed it
to go
up,
down.
didn't they? When they shut it down, they
that's right.
smashed the inside up.
Yeah, I think whoever had it was just like, sod you all, I'm just going to
Yeah,
trash it,
yeah.
which was a shame. And then when we got there, we realised that our plan was to have somebody down in the bit in between the where the fence was and the stage, which is enough for like one person to run along. But there was kind of barriers in the way, so we couldn't have that. So our camera positioning was not ideal, but yeah, it was great to do. Nerve-wracking having, 5, 6 cameras, and a couple of them actually overheated on the night and failed. So we had a couple of cameras go off for a song or two. But given the fact that we had 5 or 6, you've got enough coverage to cover it. But it was a great night in terms of the
Yeah,
gig. It was absolutely
wasn't
fantastic.
it initially shot in 4K?
It is shot in 4K, but obviously for 4K, you need a 4K disc. So
Yeah, yeah, and a lot
that's
more expensive to produce, yeah, than
yeah, a lot more expensive. So there is, I think we still have the master somewhere in 4K, but it's shot in 4K then down to HD for the Blu-ray.
yeah, but it's future proof. So down the line, when everything changes and
Yeah, hopefully.
things get cheaper and stuff like that, because yeah, there's not that many people actually got 4K yet, which is a shame.
No, and it's incredible how many people don't have Blu-ray players or anything to place DVDs on and stuff anymore. I mean, I am very much. I can see from the back of both of you that you're physical media people,
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yes,
and
yeah.
as am I. But it's incredible how many people, even people our age, that don't have DVD players or Blu-ray players or anything that they can play any of that kind of stuff on.
I think that's it with music now. The artists have got to find something unique to put on the physical product that you
Yeah.
can't stream. So whether it be a surround sound or a documentary or something that's not out there to stream, really. They've
Yeah,
got
and
to
I
find
think
that.
that's in a way that's driven what Fish has done with these box sets, and I think he puts a lot of effort into the fact that you've got all the writing, all the images, all the documentaries, and the extra stuff, and that's what people want to. If I'm buying something and I'm looking for stuff like that, like I will literally go if there's a new documentary about a film that I love or something on a release, I will literally go and buy that disc just for the documentary.
yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah. I think the extras make all the difference on your physical media on your 4K stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, but I mean, what I find when you're buying like 4K at the minute, your disc, your main disc is just the film, and they always stick a second like a Blu-ray in, so all your
yeah,
extras are on the Blu-ray. They never seem to be on the main
no,
4K thing. So just the way that it is.
it is indeed.
And
One of these days you'll upscale, John, because you haven't got four, you've got
I
four, you
haven't
haven't
got
got.
4K, no, no. But I'm surround sound and you're not surround sound. So,
Yeah, see, I'm not. So I'm not. I mean, I'm not surround sound either. So I've not got surround sound. The only time I've heard the Atmos stuff is at Fishy's place. So
I'm not Atmos. I'm
all
5.
right,
But
you're five
yeah.
one. Yeah,
You're
that's the
wait, you're
thing.
waiting for Leslie to let you drill at the ceiling for
Yeah, I've got to,
Atmos.
I've got to get the missus to agree to them. Those extra two speakers, and then we'll be all right. But not yet. Not yet. I've just made her listen to Fear in surround downstairs because we're
Oh,
recording
dear.
a Fear episode later. So only so much at once. Um, so your company's called Strange Boat. When was that formed?
So it's now 20 years old.
Right, and is that you and Scott as well?
No, that's just me. But Scott and I work together. I mean, it's Scott was in America at the time when I formed Strange Boat, so there was actually me and somebody else who initially we left the company I was working for and went solo, and then she left after 4 years, and it was just me. So I've been Strange Boat for all my commercial work for 20 years now.
Yeah. And do you do work for? Do you do advert work or what sort of other work?
It's there's a lot of so it's very very varied. So since working with Fish, we've always as a spin-off from working with Fish, we've done stuff for Tilt. So we did
All
one of
right.
Tilt's
Yeah.
music videos. We've done stuff for Mason Hill, which is a band that James Cassidy runs. James has worked on the last couple of Fish tours. Um, and I'm trying to think who else we've done stuff for. Uh, And then I've done a lot of stuff for just like organizations. So it could be like we work for the Scottish Trades Union Congress every year. I do the videography for the Hippodrome Silent Film Festival every year. So it's all been word of mouth, to be honest, over the past 20 years. And then the film education stuff, that was my background when I started. So I've always done that. And then 10 years ago, Scott and I started the Scottish Youth Film Festival, and the festival's coming up in another week and a half, so it's on October the 5th. But out of that came the Scottish Youth Film Foundation, which is basically an organisation that helps mostly disadvantaged kids make films and understand what a career in film can be like. So it's almost that slap in the face I got from my careers advisor, however many
Yeah.
years ago. That kind of stuff is still happening, unfortunately, and there are careers to be had in the creative industries now. We've finally got a few film studios in Scotland, and we've got big shows like Good Omens and stuff like that shooting here. So there's jobs, and it is a career you can actually partake in. Whereas when I was
Yeah.
growing up, it would have been nigh impossible. But
Yeah, I mean, there's even shows like Outlander.
Yeah.
and the new prequel out to Outlander, which is just shot up there as well. So
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff
so
going on. As I say, there used to literally just 4 or 5 years ago we hardly had anything, and now we've got 4 or 5 studios. And by studios, they're basically just big spaces. They're just big
yeah,
warehouse spaces. But that's all your Pinewoods and your Sheppertons are anyway. It's just big spaces that people can build stuff in. But they're there and they've got enough people to actually man them and crew them and run them. So there is a lot more happening up here now.
So what the Scottish Youth Film Foundation, is that based in a particular place, or are you in different buildings, or
We've got an office in Edinburgh. There's only three of us, so there's myself and Scott and our general manager, and but we work across Scotland. So last week we were up in Skye. We'd made a film there in the summer, and we were up there doing a screening of it. So, and we've got one of our patrons, Douglas McKinnon, he was the director of Good Omens, and he's done Sherlock and Doctor Who and stuff like that. We've got connections kind of all across Scotland,
that's brilliant.
and
so you
hopefully
need to get
soon we'll
you need to
be
get
going up.
hold of Will Smith and drag him up to try and do something for you
Yeah,
as well.
well, I think at some point we'll get well up to do something because Jack Loudon's one of our patrons as well, and
Yeah,
he's obviously in Slow Horses. So
yeah.
we've weirdly got that connection between Jack and Will.
It's not what you know till you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the media industry is definitely a who you know
Yeah,
industry. I found that out later in life than I should have.
it's all about connections.
We saw Will years ago doing the stand-up, didn't we? The Marillion stand-up
The
tour.
Yeah,
misplaced
I mean,
children.
years
That,
and years and years ago.
that
That was even long before Leamington was when he
was,
Oh
first had it
God,
round.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the weird thing is about the misplaced childhood thing. At the time when it was on at the Edinburgh Fringe, I was doing a thing called the Festival Radio Project, and I saw it advertised all over town. There was posters everywhere, and I actually thought it was somebody taking the piss out of Marillion, so I didn't go and see it. I didn't realize he was actually somebody that liked them. Um,
yeah, no,
so yeah, consequently, I've never seen Will's Misplaced Childhood show.
it's great. I doubt he's ever going to need to resurrect it now.
Well, it's another one of those things we can add to our wish list for releases because
Yeah,
I'm sure he's got a filmed version of it somewhere.
he must have. He must have.
I think there used to be clips of it on YouTube, but I think they've all gone now. Because there
Yeah,
was a clip of it on YouTube just when I first was looking up Will Smith. There was a clip of it when he went up to Fish's house, and he did a couple of skits with Fish that he included in the show, and I think they
yes,
were on YouTube at one point, but they don't seem.
Yeah, I think they were. Yeah.
yeah. Now I have to have another look for that. I mean, are you? I don't even know if you'll be able to answer this, Dave. Are there any plans to film anything of Fish's farewell tour?
It doesn't look like it at the minute, as far as I'm aware. I don't know whether that'll change, but I think he is just definitely drawing a line under everything after this. It's like
Yeah,
Bernary
yeah.
is
I
definitely
suppose filming it would mean there'd be another product, and then
exactly,
starts again.
and
Yeah,
trust me, every time there's a product, there's so much to go through, and just everything about anything, the detail in it, etc., that's required from myself and everybody else that does stuff like Mark and Steve if they're doing the design stuff, and then we've got other people authoring the Blu-rays, and there's always something that slips through as well that doesn't get caught, and there's just yeah, it's always fraught.
yeah.
So
I realise what I've asked there. I apologize.
I mean it seems a shame not to, and I don't know whether that will be a regret if it doesn't happen or whether there will be a turnaround. Maybe after he gets going in a couple of weeks, maybe that'll
Yeah, I
change.
think
Yeah, yeah,
once he's had a few shows under his belt and how confident and comfortable he feels with everything,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Because
he's got a
it's
long
going to
slog.
be weird. It is. I mean, it is a 14-year relationship we've had with him as a working relationship, but I think of him as a mate now. So it is going to be. I realize that I've probably done my last paid gig for Fish, but obviously I'll still keep in touch with them. I mean, Bernary is a bugger to get to, but I'll no doubt I'll be up there at some point.
It's not exactly round the corner, is it?
No, it is not. It's
I
the
think
end of the world stuff. It really is.
just going back to the Vigilant and the internal boxes that have just come out, then I seem to think was one of the films done quite a while ago.
Oh yeah.
Which was the older one? Is it
So
internal?
Vigil was
Oh, yeah.
done. I think we shot it. because the intention was for that to come out much quicker.
Yeah,
And he was waiting on various things to happen, like the BBC demos to be cleared and various other things got in the way. But we shot that doc. I think we might have shot it in 2020 or 2021.
yeah.
Um, I think we even shot it before the 13th Star stuff, to be honest. So there was a cut of that sitting ready for a long, long time, and it was only when he pressed go on it earlier this year that we went back to it and said, right, what does this need? And we didn't change that much of it, to be honest.
Right.
We changed tiny little bits and bobs. I mean, it was great that when they did that tour of the Highlands and Islands, they had that camcorder and they were all taking stuff. So there was a ton of stuff to look through.
Really?
They were shooting gigs, but only literally with one camera at the back of the hall
Yeah.
sometimes, or whoever happened to have it, and it would be zooming in and out, and it was, some of it was a mess, but there was stuff there that we could work with, so it was great to. Well, it was tedious to convert it all because it had to be converted first, and then we had to troll through it. And
The rehearsal footage is great.
yeah. Oh yeah, some of the stuff from the and when the house was just being built and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and they're walking in from the outside and all that stuff when John Cable's on drums.
yeah, yeah.
There was gems in there, loads of gems in there, and a few bits and bobs that haven't made it for various editorial reasons.
Oh yes. Yeah, to protect the innocent
Yes.
and to show who's guilty of anything. No, great stuff.
And then the internal doc was filmed without his front teeth, wasn't it?
That was when the teeth came out, and he did have the other teeth, but they were annoying him so much he was like, sod it, I'm just gonna take them out.
It was much the same on Fish on Friday, though, wasn't he? He went
Yeah, and fair
weeks without
play.
it. Yeah.
He was doing that slightly
I think he
sibilant,
liked it in the end. Yeah.
and then he was just like, "No, I can't be arsed with this. They're just coming out." But I suppose that's one of the great things about Derek. He is his own man, and he doesn't really care what that looks like. It's just like this is what's happening to me. This is what it is.
Yeah.
My teeth are coming out. In a few weeks, I'm going to have new teeth. They'll be fine.
And he wears his heart on his sleeve. I mean, he's always been upfront and honest with everything, and everything's been front and center, and you've always known what's going on with him.
Yeah, yeah. There's no kind of attempts to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. It's just like this is what's happening. This is where we are. Shit happens, and this is what the impact of it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So, nah, it's very refreshing to deal with in that way as a friend and as somebody that you work for. It's relatively straightforward and
Have you got a favourite of the Fish albums? You said Clutching is your favourite Marillion album. Have you got a favourite Fish album?
I mean, when we cast them, that was the time for me to go, all right, I should listen to the stuff that he's made in between. Because I don't know at the time I really didn't like Suits that much when it came out. I don't know what it was. I loved Vigil and absolutely loved Vigil. I liked Internal. I think the new Internal's better than the
Yeah,
first
way
release.
better.
I think it's really lifted it. But I mean, some of the stuff in Internal, like Credo and Shadow Play, always loved that. I do like it when he gets really rocky.
Yeah.
And then Suits kind of, I don't know what it was about Suits.
I keep wanting every time you say I don't know what it was, I keep wanting to say no dummy is probably what it was.
Yeah, I possibly didn't listen to it that much. I think I bought it, and at that point I was kind of getting into grunge, and it was kind of
Yeah,
like this sounds so different from what is floating my boat at the minute, and it
yeah,
went to the side, and then it's one. I mean, I have all my vinyl albums up until that point, and I've still got Internal and Vigil, but I don't have Suits because there was times when I was skint as a 20 something. I would just take large swathes of my vinyl and go off to the
yeah,
shop that bought vinyl and sell it just to buy a tin of beans or a pint or whatever. And Suits went out in that in one of those kind of like, do I love this album? But so I obviously I went right through the back catalogue. So Sunsets I love. After finally discovering it, 13 Star. I think the last three albums are incredible.
mhm.
I love 13 Star. I think Feast is an absolute masterpiece. And I do love Weltschmerz as well, but Feast I like a lot and 13 Star I like a lot. I think the Highwood Suite and Feast is stunning, absolutely stunning.
I think
But
he's going to be
yeah,
playing that. He's going to be playing that on the final tour, I think, isn't he? From the sound of it.
well, I think
Oh,
there'll
oh no,
be.
sorry. Again,
I,
not
I
trying.
have some insight into what might be
Oh,
getting played,
okay.
but not. I know they're rehearsing right now, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
We're
Winchester, I think, or somewhere like that.
somewhere in the Midlands, isn't it? We're going out to Utrecht in a couple of weeks to see one of the
Oh,
Utrecht
brilliant.
shows, so to get the early part of the tour, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
would have been
I'll
good to
be
do 2 nights, but
Haddington will be my first one. I'm going to come down to London as well, and then I'll do Glasgow, the 2 nights at Glasgow.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
we're
we're
doing the
doing the
two
2 nights at
Glasgow
Glasgow.
ones. Yeah, yeah.
Oh well, we'll see you there.
You've got to be there, haven't you? You've got to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird night, but yeah, got to be there.
Definitely, definitely. And what do you think you should finish with?
I think it's well, is it going to be the company? I think it's kind of got to be the company or Market Square Heroes, but for him, I think it's got to be the company. I think the Marillion stuff needs to be in there somewhere, but I think the company sums up everything about what he is and the fans are and all that. I think it's a perfect end.
Yeah,
So I would assume that the first set list will see the company at the end, but we'll see. You never know. Maybe there's some surprises.
depends. You might pull some guests on you. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what's next for you then? You've obviously got the festival coming up, which presumably is taking a lot of your time at the moment.
Yeah, we're in full steam ahead for the festival, so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. We are basically, I mean, the Scottish Youth Film Foundation a couple of years ago, we got money from the Sean Connery Foundation, so that gave us a bit more of a base from which to work, and that was when we first employed our third person. So that takes up a lot more of my time than my commercial work at the minute. However, I mean, ever since Electric Man got done, and most people won't be aware of this. So when Electric Man got done, it was obviously made for, we made it for 55 grand. It got to a lot of film festivals. It got to San Diego Comic Con. It opened a lot of doors for us. And at one point, it was with Baby Cow, Steve Coogan's production company, and they wanted to do it as a sitcom. There's a guy called Henry Normal,
Yeah,
who's a
yeah.
poet. You might know Henry does loads of Radio 4 stuff now. Henry really championed us to have it as a sitcom, and we did a bit of work on it and did a 3 series arc and all this kind of stuff, and then it didn't go. And loads of people said, "Listen, you should rewrite the film, but rewrite it as if it's got you don't have to worry about budget." So we did that at the time, and we had bits and bobs of interest, including from some really big production companies. And then COVID came along and kind of knocked the wind out of our sails a little bit. But just recently, we've had it picked up again. So there is a version of Electric Man kicking about now that is slowly being resurrected. It will probably not star Fish or anybody that was in the original, but we're kind of hoping that that might have legs again. So that's sitting there in the background, and we've got a meeting with the producer in a couple of weeks to take that forward. So
That would be
So
we'll
brilliant.
that'd be really
see.
cool.
And there's other films that we've written in the meantime that are also just sitting on the back burner. So it's just that it's really, really tricky to try and get any independent film that gets made in this country is a miracle. So, and if you've not got any vast pedigree or back catalogue, or you're not, somebody really famous, then it is really, really, really difficult.
Unless you've got some like IP or something like that behind you and
Yeah,
everything as
exactly.
well. It's, everything's franchise at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah,
Has
it's
been.
it's really, really tricky. So that's what's coming up at the minute.
Brilliant. Well, look, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Um, you're a big part of certainly the deluxe fish issues. Um, I think we both said before the first thing we do when we get these boxes is put the documentary on.
Straight away, first thing before anything at all, straight on
Yeah.
the docks.
And that certainly carries on now. The quality of the stuff that you put out on these last two boxes is just amazing. Um, did
No,
you?
it's been an absolute pleasure, and doing things like the Weltschmerz video was really great fun as well. The turntable thing,
Yes,
and
yeah,
doing the making of that was funny. Getting to do a kind of behind the scenes for that was great. So, and even things like getting to meet Mark and chatting about Mark's art, because I don't think there wasn't that many interviews with Mark until there wasn't. I think there wasn't any kind of film stuff with him that would went out and fishy stuff pretty much until we came along. So
Yeah.
having Mark sit and talk about his art is great. He's such a lovely guy as well.
Yeah, we had him on probably about 9 months ago, and like you
It
say,
was longer than that.
just
It was, you know,
one
it
of the
was,
early ones, wasn't he? But
yeah, it was
yeah,
one of the early ones. Yeah,
yeah,
lovely guy.
chatted about it. Whatever we asked him about, he was absolutely fine with it. But yeah, as you say, he's a lovely, lovely guy. But yeah, look, Dave, the stuff that you do is brilliant. I hope you can convince the big man to let you film one of the shows, and then whatever happens, happens. But more power to you, more power to you.
Cheers, guys.
And I'm looking forward to getting to see Electric Man again because I've not watched it for ages.
Cool, cool. Well, have you got a new copy?
I haven't got the Blu-ray. I need to get the
Right, well,
Blu-ray.
just send me a note, Craig, and I'll send you a copy. Don't worry.
Oh, great, mate.
Can you send us the link to put in the notes as well, David? And
Yeah, I will do. I'll send you the link for
when the episode goes out, we'll put it.
for the iPop. No problem.
All right, look, brilliant. Thanks again for your time. It's been great to speak to you.
Cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Take
Thanks a
care.
lot. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Really nice to chat to Dave. Great guy. Greg's managed to cadge a copy of Electric Man out of him as well, so he's pleased.
I haven't got 3D, but it'll upscale on my 4K player. It'll look sexy.
Yeah. But all that remains to say is it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
And stay alive.
Yay.
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out Marillion.com, fishmusic.scot or fishmusic.eu for all the good stuff.